Yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial. Sticky toes gripping forest students that explore. Listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days. Little hustlers, camouflage a maze, catch them speaking wisdom.
Says upcoming.
All right, we back again. Technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on with Riverside. We're gonna have some conversations later with them. You know, second time this happened, so you know, technology and shit. All right, but we are here with Mr.
It's on YouTube. Word. What's up?
All right, cool. All right, chat. If anybody's in the chat, just go ahead and let us know if you can see us and hear us as well. So we are actually here to talk about some Uroplatus. No, we're gonna talk about Lineatus. We're gonna get into some Pechmanai talk as well. So, actually, before all that, like, let's kind of you want to talk a little bit about, because I do want to get into what is it? That new ZoomEd LED UVB.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so recently, it hit stores a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, but just not, now got around to posting some of the materials we whipped up on that. So it's essentially like a single fixture. It's like a LED bar, but it's like, I kid you not, like 8 inches thick. And it's got a T5 fitting on one end. It comes with a 5% bulb in the box. And then the other side is an LED. What's cool about it, it's got built-in timers hooked up to a remote. So you basically just kind of set your day-night cycle, and then you can kind of tell the LED or the UVB to turn on and turn off at specific times, so you can kind of better replicate like a natural sun cycle. The LEDs have a ramp feature. The UVB does not, but both of them have the built-in timer. But those LEDs, I will say, from like sitting on my desk is like right next to, we have like this big unit that has 2 male panther chameleons. It's like a duplex cage kind of thing. That we built up, and we have one of those LEDs on the top of it, and it's like I had to put like a house plant in front of me and like in between to block out the light, because I was getting like secondhand blindness from that thing. It was like at the perfect height to where it's just like shining down and hitting my eyes when I'm on the computer. So no, yes, I can stand by the brightness.
Nice. So can you adjust the UV?
Dude, I'd say 90% of all of my lights are ZoomEd. I just replaced all my 5.0s. Couple days ago, I bought 6 18-inch ZoomEd to 5.0 bars, man, and swapped everything out. Which is ironic, because I have a solar meter and I was checking them.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, some of my bulbs were like 14 months old, still reading off around 4.0s, 3.7s, and I just changed them just because they're good backups, and I had the new ones. But dude, they're I stand by them, and I know a lot of people love Arcadia. I'm a ZoomEd dude, man. I love my ZoomEd lighting.
Support the USA brands.
And they're German too. It's not like it's like, and I'm no offense to anybody, but it's not like some China crap, you know. Like ZoomEd bulbs are made in Germany, and I don't know the truth behind them being made in the same place as Acadia. But there's plenty of podcasts out there. People they're made in the same place, and blah 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 blah. It's the same thing, and I mean, who knows if it is or it isn't? But you guys make incredible bulbs.
Yeah, no, they're killer bulbs. They're tried and true. So we stand by those things 100%. And yeah, we're testing them, and you know, we got them on all our animals, obviously, and everything's doing killer at the office. So we got a good sample size.
Are they is the UV level adjustable on those?
No. So yeah, you're gonna have to choose your bulbs accordingly. And manipulate it that way.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about some Uroplatus, right? So
let's do it.
Can you kind of give us like a little brief overview of, and we're gonna talk about both now. So what does Lineatus look like, and how do you compare that to like the Pechmanai?
Oh, they're completely different.
Yeah.
So so the Uroplatus genus, I guess I'll start there, is kind of broken into roughly 5 different subsets. So you have the Ebanawi group. So that's going to have all your leaf mimics. So Fantasticus, Ebanawi, Fiera, a couple other species that all look relatively similar. They kind of all have that leaf tail. They're small geckos. They kind of inhabit that small leaf understory kind of niche. And then you have the Fimbriatus group, and that's going to be all your bark mimics. So the Fimbriatus, Hankeli, I don't know why I said it like that. I said it like Landon. Sakura, Samedi. He always says stuff a little funky. It's fun. But
Shots
yeah, so
fired.
that's we're tight. I could say that. No, but
Someone
yeah,
said,
so
did I hear coupon code? Shit.
check with the retailers. No, but so then that's the Fimbriatus group, and then you got your the Alaudi group. So that's gonna have your Peachmani, your Alaudi, and 2 other species, and then the Lineatus is in its own kind of subset. I think Guntheri is considered to be its own little thing. It's a really weird looking gecko. It didn't get the memo. It seems like it almost looks like a large Trophaurus with a Lineatus tail. They're really neat. But yeah, the Lineatus are in their own kind of subset of the Uroplatus genus. And those things inhabit a rainforest, lowland rainforests in like the northeastern part of Madagascar. So most classically, they're known to inhabit bamboo, but they find a lot of them on, I think they're called traveler's palms. If you're familiar with like a bird of paradise plant, it's kind of like that, but it's like, it almost looks like a hand where all like the palm leaves are coming off each finger in like this flat, like little crown shaped plant. They're really interesting plants. So they're often found on those. And like when you compare like a Lineatus on a piece of bamboo to a Lineatus on a piece of dead traveler's palm like leaf, it almost seems like they blend into the traveler's palms quite a bit better. It seems like they're designed to do that a little bit more. I know they also kind of hang out on like a tropical ginger plant too. I don't know the exact scientific name, but that's another one that they find them a lot on. So they kind of inhabit those 3. They're found a lot on those 3 plant species. But yeah, they're really cool.
Nice. So what is kind of like, what's your setups look like compared to being out there in the wild?
So I keep right now I have 2 pairs in like a quote unquote quarantine in 18 36s, but I'm going to be bumping those guys up into larger cages come breeding season. I'm keeping my oldest adult group in a 36 by 18 by 36 right now. These things, in comparison to the other Uroplatus, a lot of like the Fimbriatus group stuff and the Ebonina group stuff, they're active at night, but they seem to find a spot to perch and wait for insects, and they kind of just sit there. The Lineatus, man, those things are doing laps all day. So I think walking space and room is especially important for that species, even though they're not like the largest in mass. They definitely seem to be some of the most mobile at night.
What
Okay.
do you know about their natural range? Are they isolated to a very specific place of the island, or are they found throughout the island of Madagascar?
So they're stationed in that northeastern quadrant, I guess you could say. Lowland rainforest in the northeastern quadrant. They don't go any south. They don't go south or east, or excuse me, they don't go south or west really. They don't go over that mountain range that kind of intersects Madagascar. But so they're kind of reduced to those lowland rainforests.
I think that's super interesting too. You know, with how isolated these particular species are. Like they don't just cover the island, right? Like it's almost like these little, populations evolved to these mini microclimates of the jungle / rainforest, and they were like just stuck there by time. I can't even articulate what I'm trying, but you can see it. When you look at all these little species in the small area in which they're found and inhabit, it's like it's pretty damn cool.
It's pretty incredible. I think my understanding is that they all kind of evolved from a common ancestor that may or may not have looked similar to Guntheri. I think Guntheri is like the oldest, the quote unquote oldest, form of Uroplatus that we still have today. But I want to say it's a common ancestor that inhabited most of Madagascar, and then they kind of broke up and specialized from there in their own little subsets and stuff. And what's really interesting about them, obviously, is just how different a single genus can be. I don't know a single other genus that's like as diverse as Uroplatus as far as like phenotype. Like nothing compares. Absolutely nothing compares. And I have mixed theories on why that may be. One of them, as far as the camouflage go, I think a lot of the predators are like very visual animals that use their eyesight to hunt a lot. So like birds of prey, carnivorous, or lemurs, or there's some species of lemurs that'll take them out. Fossa. Yeah, so species like that tend to go after them and rely a lot on sight, I would think would make most sense for an animal that's evolved to be invisible,
Have to be. I mean, it's only, nature does nothing by accident, and if it was something that was, detecting its prey by heat or smell or something, I mean, would nature put that much effort and energy into making something that's that camouflaged visually? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, people always say chameleons are a master of camouflage. I'm like, you guys, like, do you know anything about nature? Like,
They wish.
I've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
one,
for
I've got
real.
a little, regular old
Brookesia can hang.
Sakurai in
That's
a
about it.
little tank, dude. I can't tell you how many times I've stared at the thing like, how did he get out? Where did he go? Like he's not in here. Like the tank
Don't
is
worry,
18 by 18 by 18. He's there right in front of me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
So
Oh,
how I
man,
feel
yeah.
about my little Ebanawi. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck,
So what do you
where'd
guys?
you go?
Do you guys both have Sakura and Ebanawi? Or you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool. Cool.
So,
No, I-
but I'm
that's
actually
exactly-
I'm trading my Sakura because I want more Ebanawis.
Yeah.
I just like I like the little ones. They're like, I don't know. For me, that Ebanawi is so mobile at night compared to my Sakura. It's like much more active, and I like that about them.
Habits, two different
Yeah.
behaviors.
Having
so-
like a good mix of every group, it's really fun to kind of compare and contrast against the
Yeah,
different.
you got that
subgenuses and
observation.
stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I'll come in here at night with a red light and like just post up in here for an hour and just watch them all kind of do their thing. And yeah, the Ebanawi, it's cool. They do like laps across through the branches and stuff, and
Yeah.
they're really neat because once you kind of get a couple of them together in a tank, once you get a good group of them, they all kind of like to sleep together. So you'll get like this
Oh, yeah?
Ebanawi ball like in the corner. It's
Nice.
really funny looking. I put up a post months ago of just like all the times I've found like 4 Ebanawi in just like a fat old ball at the base of a ficus tree.
That's
cool.
dope. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that now. As soon as I
Yeah.
get me some. Yeah, I'm supposed to get some, I think in April. So we'll
Okay.
see what happens. Depends on
They're such a
weather
small
and stuff like
gecko.
that.
They're
Yeah.
just like the personality is huge, man. I always tell people, and I'm always like posting pictures, and I think people just think I'm just some like weird old gecko guy, just like trying to show off my lizards. But like in all actuality, like out of 200 lizards, these things, they're absolutely my smallest, but close to the biggest personality. All the animals I have, like this dude is a character, man. Like he's the way he hunts, he will actively chase stuff down. Like he's not just like the Sikares, like an ambush predator. He sits there and waits for something to come his way. He'll post up where he knows the bugs make their routes. This Ebanawi is like on it. Like he's just full of character, up and down and falling and slipping upside down, and he's on this, he's on that. He's always on the go. At nighttime.
Yeah, it's
So
cool.
damn cool.
Yeah, they're incredible. Even the Sakura are pretty mobile sometimes at night. They like to traverse like the thinner branches at night. So stuff like maybe like dime width. You'll see them kind of traverse across them to different perching spots at night, posting up for bugs. But they learn habits. So I've started giving them feeder bowls. I just do like little plastic containers because they hit those. I mean, sure you guys know they hit those crickets hard. If you put like a plastic or like a like a ceramic feeder bowl or anything hard like that, they'll muck their nose up. So I literally just use deli containers, and it's sitting on the leaf litter. It creates enough of like a soft impact to where it doesn't really affect them. So I've been starting to do bowls, and they've learned where those bowls usually sit, and they always perch in the same area. The Lineatus especially will do that. Those things are bad.
Right.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Finding Nemo, but it's
Yeah,
they're like the fucking seagulls. At the end where they go like the mine. It's what they do. They all sit around this where the bowl usually goes, and as soon as I put it in, they just start smoking them.
Oh man.
That's awesome.
So you were talking about quarantine with them, right? Are they wild caught, or is it just you're
A
putting
couple
in,
of
like,
mine
a
are wild.
Okay.
My original group is wild. I bought another wild pair this year, and then I have a captive bred pair, adult pair that's hopefully going to go this season. And then I have a bunch of offspring from the original group. But yeah, sorry with the with wild stuff.
So what's your process with them for quarantine and everything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, at work I have a microscope, or like we have a microscope to do fecals on the animals and stuff there. So sometimes we'll take fecals in and check it out there. And kind of treat accordingly, fenbendazole or Panicure, that kind of thing, metronidazole if really needed. But I don't really like that stuff. It's pretty taxing.
Okay.
So yeah, so when I get them in, I'm not too worried about like airborne pathogens or anything like that. It's mostly just fecal to nasal stuff or fecal to oral stuff that I'm kind of worried about. So I just make sure to be really careful when taking stuff out or, cleaning. If I'm doing like a round of cleaning, I'll start with all the wild stuff first and then go to the captive stuff. I just have this tent, so it's not like a true quarantine, like how you would, ideally do it, where you have them in separate rooms and all that, and nothing goes into contact. My opinion on like treating, I'm definitely a little bit more lax. I would rather treat a wild caught animal as if it was permanently in quarantine for the entirety of its life than treat that animal too harshly and potentially have some issues that way. Over time, like I'm really careful with all of my offspring. Anything that leaves here that goes to other places, I'm really, really careful about. It has all its own, food bowls and tongs and tweezers and stuff like that. So I kind of just treat it with caution. And I'm hoping, just my idea is that over time, as those animals kind of weed themselves out, the collection will eventually go clean, just naturally. And it's just a lot less taxing than treating all the animals super, super harshly up front. But, and it's like your number one priority when bringing anything in from the wild is just get it settled and get it hydrated. That's first and foremost. Your number one objective.
What do you think the probably hydration, but what do you think one of the more complicated procedures is when it comes to acclimating these wild caught animals? Like if someone was to get, someone that's really not a gecko expert or maybe a reptile expert at all, gets in a pair of wild caught or maybe buys a pair of wild caught to the show, what are some of the issues that they're likely to run into with wild caught and how would they handle it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do before you even buy the animal. It's just doing visuals on the animal. Like, you don't have to buy that animal then and there. Like,
good advice.
It's like you have all the power in the world to just walk away if that animal isn't looking tip top shape. I've had I've seen animals on show tables that look like hot garbage, and sometimes it's not the person that has it. It's not the owner or the current owner of the animal's fault. Sometimes they collect these animals because the Uroplatus, they're hard to find, right? I mean, the collectors are pretty good, but like when they go out and find them, they usually prioritize finding the Uroplatus first before the shipment comes in, so they get them like a couple weeks to a month ahead of time before that shipment comes in, or they send it out. So they end up sitting in these cages out there for way longer than they should with subpar care. That's why the Uroplatus often come in kind of shit.
Yeah,
which is sad. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on wild caught stuff. I think it's important, obviously for them to go to breeders and stuff, and maybe not so much the pet owners, just because of the bad experiences that they can have with these animals. And also, as like a pet owner, the last thing you want to do is bring anything in weird. These things can carry protozoa, these things can carry amoebas and all kinds of crazy shit. So caution is, good to be cautious for sure. It's for some, it's a worthwhile risk for genetic diversity. That's something I'm putting a lot of, the Lineatus I'm putting a lot of emphasis on as far as getting a couple bloodlines going. That's why I got, I'm trying to get at least 4 different wild bloodlines in here. That should last quite a while. There's a lot of crisscrossing I can do with captive offspring from there just to make sure I have, genetically robust animals for the next few generations. So that's my reasoning for doing it. It's a mixed bag. I don't think there's a right answer, but obviously it's got to be ethical and responsible, which is not always the case.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you got people that just just buy wild caughts just to buy them. But like you said, there's other people that like you said that want to strengthen the bloodline, or just have a like you said, have a good captive breeding program here, and so people don't have to keep grabbing from the wild, right? People don't have to get disappointed when they buy that, because it's a $300 instead of a $600-700 gecko, right? And then next you know, it dies in like less than a month. But so what are like, have you noticed any kind of different behaviors between your wild caughts and your captives?
Not so much behavior. The Lineatus, they all kind of just suck in personality.
I heard they're Tokay-esque.
Yeah, you asked me to take a selfie with one, and that was an experience for sure. For the thumbnail.
Let me see your fingers. What do they look like?
They're not bad. They're not bad. They don't bite. They don't bite super hard, but they like to bite for sure if you grab them. It's definitely something that should be left to just looking at them. It's as far as taking them out, to do health checks. I usually try and get like a thin piece of bamboo to kind of just work under their, their hands and take them out that way. less stress on
Nice,
the
yeah.
animal than a claw grabbing them, I guess. And that's kind of how I like to treat most of the stuff here. It's just less time, less I have to use the hands, the better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like
I
hearing
think
that.
the Sakura are usually pretty even tempered. The Ebonali I've never gotten so much as a a evil look from them. The Hankali and the Lineatus are especially bad. I think I've never kept Fimbriatus, so I can't speak on those, but from what I see, they're pretty defensive as well. A lot of the larger species seem to be kind of, ornery. So yeah, that's one thing to consider, I guess.
Yeah, I think I took out my Ebon Alley one time. I swear to God, I was like, when it moves, like it jumps and
Yeah, it's like
it
a
feels
frog.
like it like kind of yeah, and it feels like it almost like disappears and like just appears on another spot. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be that goddamn fast. Surprised the shit out of me. I was like, oh shit, no, let's put you back. Let's put you back. We're not touching you no more. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm pretty hands off with a lot of my geckos. So, like I
Yeah.
said, I only do them when it's time for health checks and stuff. So, try to pick them up. But I'm gonna use that stick method for that one next time. Yeah, the Sikare, like
Yeah,
she like arches her back, gapes her mouth at me. I'm like, all right, you just
the back
yeah.
arch scares the shit out of new keepers and me too. It's just like across the board. It's terrifying.
Yeah, it
'Cause I
just
feel
reminds
like
me of a
I feel like
cat, a
Landon's
pissed off cat.
Landon's
Yeah,
talking to Landon and Wyatt about some of the Aussie stuff that does
Yeah.
similar reflexes. It never ends well. It usually ends with them like
getting
stroking
bit.
out and dying,
Oh
or like
shit.
the animal
Okay.
itself when they kind of arch their
Oh.
back and do that like twitch thing.
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah, it never ends well with that stuff. So it always kind of freaks me out. The Peachmani do it, and
Those
they do it a lot more than my Sakura.
Do
Oh,
those
wow.
So I'm-
species that you know of, are they related in any sort, like anywhere along the evolutionary tree? Do these Madagascar species, can they be like traced to the Australian species at all, or are they just like two like separate
I think it's a
evolutions?
case of conversion evolution.
That's the name of it too,
yeah,
right? Where two things,
where like
two different
kind
places
of
evolve to the same person is convergent evolution.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Australian. Yeah, Australian leaftails are cool, man. They're yeah. I think
Yeah, I
they're
got plenty of them coming. So
Wyatt.
I'm
I
wait.
going over and seeing Wyatt's enclosures and his animals. It's definitely a treat. It's fun him having all that Aussie stuff, so I don't have to.
Yeah, there you go. You got a bunch of other stuff too, man. You got like you
Yeah.
got Abronias, you got
Yeah.
Colodis or Cafodes
Colodis.
or both.
Colodis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pethanogodais.
Yeah, Pethiagodai. Got those
God
from
damn, I want some
from
of those so
Justin.
bad.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, they're so cool. They're so cool. Did he
Yeah.
talk with you guys? You talked with you guys about those, right? his
We
episode?
talked the Dumbaras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are
those-
a great nano species. I gravitate towards the Colodis a lot more as far as like a display animal because I want like a nice big display, and all the plants.
Like the
and stuff,
colors
and
on
these-
that thing are like unreal.
Yeah.
With that digital blue shit and
Mhm.
brown, it's like, dude, that is unreal when you see a lizard like that.
And they're very, they're very eyesight driven. They're very reactive. They're super reactive. So like, just walking by the tank, they jump out and kind of look at you and they give you the eye and stuff. And yeah, and they're so much fun to feed. It's like an arboreal, like an arboreal collared lizard. Super high, high strung.
Do you have a
Go
favorite
ahead.
species for leaftails for Uroplatus?
For leaftails, okay. Yeah. I think the Lineatus might be if I had to get rid of everything, and all I could keep was one massive enclosure for something, or like a walk-in grow tent with just one species, it would probably be the Lineatus. I love all the leaftails. Don't get me wrong, and I find reasons to love all of them, and they excite me so much. I think the Lineatus, if I had to get rid of everything, I might just keep like a back group of those.
So
and,
one
like,
more,
walk-in
throw
grow
a
tent.
monkey wrench in the gearbox here. If you could suggest one species for a pet keeper, if out of all the species you have, and you could say this would be the perfect pet leaftail entry level, which one and why? Which species?
It all, in my opinion, you can have success with pretty much everything I keep. Really, all the Uroplatus species captive bred are actually like, I don't know. I think they're fairly hardy.
Really?
Samedi is one that is in my periphery where it's like I haven't personally kept that species, so I can't really comment. But they come from the Sakura. obviously they look exactly like Sakura. Nobody can really tell the difference
Yeah.
except for the buccal
It's just
membrane.
the buccal
and then
membranes,
counting,
right? Yeah.
and then you have to count the lip scales too, because there's some Sakura
Okay.
populations with white mouths as well.
Hear that?
Oh, okay.
So the Samedi are a lowland species, and then the Sakura are more of like a highland species. The Sakura experience a lot cooler temperatures in the wild. The Samedi are more lowland, so they're subject to more warmer temperatures.
Okay.
But then again, like the Sakura have been incredibly hardy for me as well, so it's hard to say that you'd see a massive difference. But as far as like, it really depends on your region and how much space you have. If you have all the space in the world, but your temperatures are a little bit warmer than you think might traditionally be good for Uroplatus, Lineatus is that's your ticket. It can get hot. They can take it warm. I do basking bulbs on mine in the for part of the year. I let it get low to mid 80s at the top of their enclosure. But it's important to give them microclimates where they can get away from it, back down to ambient 75. Yeah. But if they experience temperatures in the low 80s, they almost prefer that. Hankali as well, I've noticed in the winter will kind of gravitate closer and closer to the UVB bulbs. So you have to act accordingly and put diffusers, so it lowers your UVB output. Because I've seen a lot of cases where on Facebook and stuff where Hankali will lose tails because they kind of shove their tails into the UV lights to get warm, and then it causes like this big old blister that ends up kind of.
I have seen that. I saw someone post something like that, and they made it drop its tail or something because it had a blister.
Was it
from
recently?
Sticking it on the light or something? I saw someone post something like that. That's interesting.
How long ago is it? Do you remember?
Not very long ago. Not very long ago. Within the last 3 months.
I have that animal now.
Oh, do you really?
He's like, I have that animal now.
Yeah, so it's from a guy. It's from a guy I know down in San Diego.
Been your post.
Yeah, and it's a gorgeous animal, and unfortunately, he was really tuckered about it. I was very lucky that he reached out when he had to do some moving for college. So we worked something out where he'll be able to get back into the Uroplatus hard when he's in a good living situation out of college and stuff. So, I'm privileged enough to have that animal from him. It's a gorgeous Hankali. But yeah, that's just something to think about too.
Myself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So back in your question about the best beginner Uroplatus, Ebonale can take higher temperatures too, So in my opinion, it's really about space. How much space you want a lot. If you're kind of on a budget or don't have all the space in the world, apartment, that kind of thing, and just want like a cool 18 cube display on your counter, Ebonale all the way. Set up a little 1.2 in there. You'll always see those things out. The nice thing about Uroplatus compared to a lot of other gecko species, nocturnal gecko species, is that how bold they are during the day. You can always see them in the enclosure. It's super, it's really nice, having that ability to always see your animals. You're not just looking into an empty tank, all the time, which can get disheartening for a pet keeper with one tank and
especially
nice
for
display.
Someone that's keeping them for a display, like a hands-off keeper, like you guys are suggesting you prefer. You're gonna want, if you're not touching them, it'd be nice to be able to at least see them, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly, and they're not skittish in the way that you walk up to the enclosure and that Philsuma grandis gapes at you and then runs away. So
yeah.
they're for that it's there's merits to all these species, but I'd say going up from small enclosure to large enclosure, I would say Ebonale and then Sakura if you have a little bit more space, and then if you have all the space, then Lineatus are really hardy and they're super easy to get feeding.
Okay.
It's very good to know.
Yeah.
There's one species of gecko that I love, hands down, infatuated with, and I will not buy one because people in their stories have put the fear of God in me. The Satanics. I do not have one and will not buy one because people have put this thing in my head that they're impossible to keep. So I'm like, you know what? If all these people can't do it and everybody keeps saying they're impossible to keep, you know what? Let me just stop. And truth be told, I've never failed to keep anything yet. And I am that scared that I will not buy one because people make it sound like it is an impossible task.
I kind of want to try one just to see. So I've talked to people that have found them in the wild. And the temperatures they're finding them at, they're no different than Sakura. They're in that same kind of area where it's like a intermediate to highland rainforest. So they do, experience cooler temperatures, but they've whenever people have been finding them, they're head to toe drenched in sweat. They're not chilly, I guess. So it's hard to say. My theory on why people fail is a little bit of that, like, that fear mongering, I guess. And then people try and overcorrect. So in like a 12-18, it's a small glass box. You're trying to keep this thing, under 74 and humid. That's a recipe for mold, poor airflow, growing all kinds of nasty shit in that enclosure. And I think they don't take well to that kind of environment, that kind of dank, stagnant, swampy, cold environment. They don't like that.
It'll kill an animal fast, man. Like much faster
absolutely.
than too hot or too cold. Just a bacteria-ridden environment will drive an animal to the ground, man.
And it's like a kind of species that you want to go bioactive, but it's hard to replicate those parameters in that way. That being said, though, if you're able, I would almost say, if you're able to keep, if I was to do satanics in like a home environment, I might overgun like the size of the enclosure to kind of account for some of those parameters. So I might do something like an 18-24 or larger, and maybe fog them for a couple hours at night, but keep that screen top open so that during the day they can dry out, and have that, dry surface period. And then just keep a lot of the misting and fogging tonight. So it's I can't comment because I've never kept them before, but I'd be interested to try them to see if they're as hard as people say. But
maybe someday.
So we
Haven't
got
had
a
good
couple
enough for me,
questions
honestly.
in the chat. Got a couple questions in the chat. Can you when I post them down there, can you see it?
Yeah, I think
All right,
so.
cool. All right, so right there, Bioscapers asks, let's break it down. Your favorite non-handable gecko and favorite handable gecko.
Favorite non-handleable gecko, at least as far as stuff I keep, probably the Lineatus or Hankeli. Handleable gecko, probably like a chameleon gecko. I love Urodactylodes. I think they're so cool. I just finished a couple of like biotope-esque Urodactylodes enclosures.
Cool.
So I it was with Christmas, all the supermarkets and stuff get flooded with like these little Christmas Norfolk pines, and so I got like 5 of those freaking things for $5 a piece on sale, like the day after Christmas. So I started hoarding those, and I've been putting them into Uri enclosures, and then I used like the excavator clay substrate, so it has like that red clay kind of substrate look, and then I used some dark lava rocks to kind of give it that rocky outcrop looking look. I'm gonna post a video on those later this week, I think. But yeah, they're really cool, and I've been having a lot of fun just with those.
I love mine too. I got one, and I never ever thought I ever would have got one. I won it in Supreme Gecko's like 12 Days of Christmas thing. I wound up winning it, and I've always heard people say like they're awesome, and my heart is literally in New Caledonia. Like all my favorite geckos are from New Caledonia.
Yeah,
and I just never thought about getting one because they were so small. They seemed like so hands off, but everybody that ever talked about him has only ever said great things about him. So when I wound up winning one, ironically, I got it and realized how damn cool it is, man. Like it's probably one of the coolest geckos altogether in my collection. Oh, you got a badass little setup.
Let's see if
There
I can
you
get
go.
this right.
Oh,
Which
nice.
species is that?
That's Occidentalis.
Well, of course you do.
What size is that enclosure?
It's a 16-16-20.
Okay. Yeah,
So
Bioscapers was asking.
Yeah, so you can see I got some like a lot. It's hard because it's like mirrored, so I have to like.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Kinda
beautiful,
do some
man.
funky
Beautiful enclosure.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful cage. You
Yeah,
saw
and
it
then I
here
planted-
first, guys.
Yeah, yes you did. And then I planted some. Have you guys heard of the sensitive plants? Like the plants that kind of when you touch them, they kind of do like the little the curling
no.
thing.
I've seen them like what are those trees that grow near us? They have the pink flowers on them. When you touch them, they close up. Damn, something with an S. Not a sycamore tree or a. It doesn't matter, but there's a tree that grows out here near me on the East Coast. They have these crazy pink flowers on them, and if you the leaves almost look like palm fronds, if you will, but like short little leaves. And if you touch them, they close up.
Yeah, I want to say I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I natted them, and I guess they grew on New Cal.
Mimosa tree.
Yeah, mimosa. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and they grew on New Caledonia. So I planted a bunch of those seeds in the substrate.
Don't tell me that. Do they really?
You can buy seeds on Amazon for like $8
Dude, I go
for
take
like
the
a.
trees that my grandma's got a giant one in her house to grow like weeds. That's awesome.
Here,
Oh,
I
she's
I
out
have
there
the
cutting down
species name.
bamboo today. She's got
Um,
those. She's got giant bamboo, bamboo, bro, like 4-inch thick bamboo. I went down and cut a bunch down for my buddy Richie, the Gecko King. I went and cut down
Yeah.
a bunch of bamboo for him today, that's crazy, dude. It's like a little oasis there with all these plants, man. That's damn cool. I didn't know they
Yeah.
grew in New Caledonia. I thought I knew all the freaking plants that grew there.
Let me look just so I'm not capping here.
Yeah,
Yeah. They are. I just looked it up. They grow on New Cal.
That's awesome.
They grow kind of. They're all over the world.
nice.
I know they're like invasive here. I don't think they're not like originally.
I don't know
from
if they're
here.
native. Like, I'm not going to throw the native term around just because it's a seeding plant. So, like,
The plants
really,
themselves,
be...
you ever seen the flowers on them? They're actually really pretty. Like, it's like a super
Yeah,
tropical vibe.
I
These
really
little
hope they
pink-
carpet. I think that'd be so
that's
cool if they kind of carpet over and start throwing flowers. That'd be
awesome.
insane.
Yeah, shit. Send me the link for that one so I can go
Yeah,
ahead
I
and
will.
buy some of those.
Just it's Mimosa pudica. Seeds
Yeah,
on Amazon. It's like
Oh, I
$8.
could spell that mimosa. I don't know about that pudica, but so let's so captive husbandry, right?
Uh-huh.
So so what kind of a soil mix are you doing for these things? Are you doing any live plants in those things, or are you keeping it kind of basic with the?
I love the live plants. Obviously, I think
Okay.
I don't see a reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That being said, like I'm not the best with plants that you have to like bury in the substrate. So what I do is my favorite plant in the world is the bird's nest ferns. They grow everywhere. They're in Madagascar. They're in New Cal. So I kind of use them for everything.
Mhm.
And they're so stinking easy. All you gotta do, clean off all the roots and then wrap it in like a thick wad of sphagnum moss. Zip tie that all together into like a tight ball, and just zip tie those to the trunks of the branches and stuff. All you gotta do
Okay.
is keep that sphagnum moss pretty moist. Don't let it dry out. As soon as you see the epiphytic roots kind of shoot outside the sphagnum moss, you can kind of just let it rip and just spray it as you would the gecko. And they provide a really nice area for drinking water. And yeah, it's the easiest thing to do because I don't have to worry about a deep substrate layer or anything crazy like that. I can just strap them to branches. So I use a lot of those in my enclosures. So for generation 2, I guess, of the Lineatus enclosures, I'm gonna try and go as close to their natural environment as I can. So I'm gonna try and source some ginger plants and some. I've got some live bamboo from my climber I built it a little while ago, so I'm probably gonna use some of that too.
I'll send you bamboo anytime you want it, bro. Like there's literally
please.
my grandmother's backyard, dude. Dude, I shit you
You
not,
can sell
man.
that-
It's in all my tanks. That's all I use. I make hides with it. My grandmother has probably 2 square acres where it's been growing since I was a kid in the 80s, man. And I mean, there's
Wow.
bamboo. Like I said, I went down and cut a couple down that are 4 inches today. And obviously
Yeah.
it tapers all the way to nothing. So dude, I can get you whatever the hell
Show
you want. They
vendors-
grow on rhizomes, obviously,
Mhm.
but I could, in theory, dig you up some roots and send it to you, the rhizomes, and you plant them. But they shoot really tall before you get any type of growth out of them. It's
Yeah.
but I can send you bamboo poles, real bamboo poles, anytime you want them.
Hell yeah, man! I appreciate that. No,
Literally.
you could sell that stuff like those things would sell like at shows for like hotcakes. We'll blow these Lineatus up. We'll get them real popular, so people go to you for bamboo.
Right?
There you go. So what kind of I know you said you do a little bit of heat. Are you using like a little 25 watt
Yeah,
bulb on like a dimmer?
yeah. So right now during winter cooling, I have them. I guess I'll just go over my yearly parameters for them.
Yeah.
So the Lineatus, like I was saying, they like it warmer. They are in the wild. Their daytime temperatures don't fluctuate a whole heck of a lot, so they kind of stay pretty consistently, around like 75 to 80, 83 degrees all year round. So I try and I do like a daytime yearly cycle with them. So I'll let the room get down to like the low 70s in the winter and let the UVB bulbs kind of heat up that top echelon of the enclosure. But in the summer, I like to keep the room about 75 to 77 ambient. So I'll throw on a couple of ceramic heat emitters, just low wattage 25 watt ceramic heat emitters across that tall tank. I'll just use 2, and it'll kind of keep that warm air bubble at the top of the enclosure, nice and warm for them. So if they want to experience kind of low 80s temperatures, they can. So that's kind of, and then, nighttime temperatures, there's a lot more of a yearly change with nighttime temperatures where they're from. So like in the summer, or in their quote unquote, warm season summer when it's super rainy, their wet season, Nighttime temperatures are usually like high 60s. Sometimes they don't even drop below 70. But they're kind of like that, mid to high 60s, sometimes 71, 72. But during the wintertime, it'll drop into the low 60s. So, it's good to provide that yearly cycle as far as temperature goes with the nighttime cycle or with the nighttime temperature. For captive husbandry, you could probably skirt around that, but for breeding, they're not as they gave a lot of people trouble, and I think it's just because a lot of people that try and breed Lineatus also try and breed other species of Uroplatus, and like they kind of operate a little bit differently. Like I've only had one season under my belt, so I'm not going to make bold claims here and like say this is how to do it. But my theory is that as far as cycle goes, they're a lot more in tune with an effective cycle for them might include more of a food cycle and like a rainfall cycle. So
kind of
similar
to like more of a rain thing than it is temperature,
So their annual rainfall. So as far as rainfall goes, where they're from, the winter when their dry period, their monthly rainfall is, it's maybe around 3 inches. I think I looked this up a little while ago. It's about 3 inches per month of rain in the dry season. But then in the warm season, when it's super rainy and stuff, it's up to 16 inches of rain per month, which is obviously it's significantly more.
Wow.
It's a lot more. So I think it's a lot more effective with them to try and find a way to do a rain cycle and a food cycle. So right now I'm only feeding them like once a week, maybe like 4 to 5 insects per head. In the summer, man, I'm dumping as much crickets in that enclosure as a bearded dragon.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, I think that's kind of like.
Yeah, so I think so last summer, I went from my college housing room, which not the best for this stuff, but it worked, and I transitioned them into the garage into this tent, which suddenly the ambient humidity spiked during that change, and then I got eggs a couple months after. I think that change had something to do with it. So I want to replicate that humidity cycle and that rain cycle especially. I think that'll be important for getting another successful season under them. So I'm going to try and do some plumbing and see if I can whip up some drains on these enclosures and let that rainfall go for 10 minutes a day in 1 minute increments over the course of a night, and just hammer them with rain and see if that
works.
Leads to some
good
consistency.
Because
yeah,
it's that
because
rain.
I only got 3 clutches from the group last summer, and I don't know if that's because it's the recent imports and they haven't really acclimatized to captivity fully, or what. It very also well could be because after they started laying, it started to get cold again, so that temperature kind of declined again. And they kind of might have shut off that way. So some trial and error to be done in the future. So I'm excited to see how this year turns out. But I've got some ideas I want to try.
Nice.
Awesome.
So let's go ahead and talk about some of that breeding and incubation stuff. So what are you doing for, what's your preferred medium, and then what's your preferred incubation process? Is it straight up just going to be room temp, or do you actually set a standard temp? Or how do you go about yours?
Yeah, incubators, I had too many horror stories of them failing. And I'll honestly, so where these things lay their eggs, so a lot of the Ebenaui and the Sakura and stuff, they'll lay their eggs under just a thin layer of leaf litter. Lineatus, I've gotten eggs in my corn plants as well as in the leaf litter as well. So if you're thinking about how much buffer those environments have to the parameters of the jungle or whatever, they're going to be subject to a lot of that fluctuation. There's not much barrier in between them and the air. So I think air, just whatever your ambient is, I think that is the most ideal way to incubate them. So I kind of try and find shelves in the room that kind of sit, for the Lineatus at least, I'll find shelves that sit around 75. Incubated my first 2 clutches cooler with my Sakura eggs, and I got all males. I'm talking, this is very just anecdotal info, and talking to Justin about when he was breeding Lineatus too. But I tried incubating my last clutch 4 or 5 degrees warmer on a shelf that was consistently about 4 to 5 degrees warmer, and I got a pair of females out of that. I'm not making no claims, but I'm gonna try it again and see if it replicates. There's nothing published on temperature sex determination with Uroplatus in general, so I'm very, very hesitant to point fingers at that. And my sample size was small, so it most likely was just random chance. But I think I'm gonna incubate my next round of eggs on the warmer side, closer to 75 to 79 degrees ambient. Whatever that nighttime temp drop gets to, I don't really care. They can take it. But I think I'll shoot for a daytime ambient of that. With all the other stuff, though, I'm incubating under 75 degrees. And whatever it falls, it falls.
Okay.
And
So
then
you gonna
as
try
far
to-
as mediums go,
How are you
sorry.
setting up the eggs to incubate?
Yeah. So with Uroplatus eggs, they're a hard-shelled egg, so you really don't want to get them wet. They're kind of designed to contain a lot of that moisture. They don't grow and expand over time like some
Heard that
unical eggs
before.
and some other eggs do. I try and keep that surface of the egg really dry, so I just put them in a little cup of perlite. I kind of put a little dimple in the perlite and kind of just set the egg there and just leave it. I've had ebanawi eggs while I've been collecting them roll like crazy, and I've had them hatch. So I don't think it's something that you need to worry super hard about. I mean, they're literally like a perfect sphere, and all you have to do is bump them slightly, and they roll like crazy. So, I've had eggs hatch that I know for sure have rolled, so I wouldn't freak out if you have an egg that rolls like that.
Good.
But yeah, I just put them in perlite, and then I set them in like a 6-quart container with a big old layer of wet sphagnum moss, and then I just put the deli cups with the perlite and the egg just on top of that, just so it keeps the air humid. Sphagnum moss is also like really acidic, so it'll kind of thwart mold and that kind of stuff as well. So, and then as far as like holes in the container, you can do holes. You can, I don't think I'd like fully seal it. Like I used like the world's worst 6-quart container, so like the lids like barely hang on to the top, So there's probably an air gap, along that rim. It's not sealed at all, but I don't intentionally put holes. So if you're gonna do like a gasket container, I might chuck a couple holes in that. But otherwise, I'd say just run it.
Nice. So, like you're talking about, like in theory of like temps, that TSD, right? What about thinking about like taking both eggs from that clutch and then putting one on the top and then one on the bottom and just kind of seeing seeing the variability of that.
You're most likely going to see a difference in hatch date. But as far as what pops out, I really can't make any claims just because it's not something that's been consistent with. It very well just could be they just have a higher propensity to produce males. If males are the ones that are bounding around the rainforest looking for females, they're most likely going to get picked off by predators more often. So it could just be, a natural propensity to produce more males just for the longevity of the species. And we're just seeing the effects of that in captivity when we try and produce females, because that's what everybody wants. No, yeah.
How long does it usually take to hatch?
They take a while. They can go. I think my first couple rounds of Lineatus eggs went about 90 to 100 days.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, but
Not
there's
really, not for the size.
there's eggs that have like there's eggs that have gone like a lot longer in other people's collections. Like some people have had Hankli eggs that have like quote unquote diapaused and like gone like over 200 days.
God,
which is insane, But,
yeah. I'm not ready for that. I can't, man. Like I said, my Stropharis is 50-some days. No,
it's easy.
yeah, right. No, because like this season, like I'm in it for a long haul with some eggs because a lot of the new stuff that I got, they're like, yeah, it's gonna be like a 3 to 5 month incubation process. I was like, fuck. So no instant gratitude for me.
Yeah, ebanawi, I feel like as far as the stuff I keep, ebanawi are especially bad. The Sakura are usually around 3 months. The Lineatus are all around 3 months. The ebanawi are like whenever they go, and oftentimes it's well over 100 days.
Oh wow!
I mean, have you ever thought about it though, in theory, like how amazing that even is? In 3 months, you could take a little sphere full of goo, right? And nature develops it into a fully functioning, complete, animal that can protect itself, defend itself, hunt for itself, feed itself. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing in that short a time, when a mammalian fetus would take you 9 months, in theory. A human and some other animals, dogs and whatnot, take a significant amount of time to be born helpless with so much that's still to develop. I mean, it's crazy, and I guess kind of weird. People probably think I'm a weirdo for thinking about it, but it takes something that goes from nothing to a whole living something in that short a period of time is just amazing to me,
Yeah.
And
It's
90
yeah,
days is not a lot of time. I mean,
yeah,
shit, I'm
it's incredible.
41 years old, dude. I've spent more than 90 days staring at corners, man. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
how are you
Absolutely.
how are you setting up these the hatchlings?
So the Lineatus, I got like these bamboo trellises on Amazon. So I have them just set up super simply in 10 by 10 by 12s right now with those bamboo trellises, and then I just threw in some dead leaves from the cane plant that I have growing just in
Okay.
the tent.
So
I just kind of snipped
how
off some
big are
dead
they when
leaves.
they hatch out?
Um, maybe about as long as like a like
Pretty
Okay.
big.
2 or 3
Oh,
inches.
that's pretty big
Yeah, no,
for a
the
baby.
Lineatus, they hatched at a good size. Let me see if I can. Here, I'll go grab one.
I saw he
That's
posted
right.
one the
Go
other,
get.
I don't know, maybe fairly recently ago. He posted a picture on his IG. Guys, if you don't follow him, obviously you probably already do. Go check his page out, check his IG out, his Facebook. Kid is always posting some cool ass shit, man.
Yeah, for real.
But
Yeah, if y'all got
he
questions,
posted
go
one,
ahead
and I
and
was like, "There's no way that's a hatchling." I mean, it looked like a juvie or something, like something that
right.
was a couple weeks old, maybe a couple months old, man. But it was a hatchling, dude. It was pretty fucking big.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, you guys in the chat, if y'all do have questions, go ahead and post them so we can go ahead and get Jack to answer them. Oh man,
Yeah, that's
hey,
a lot
where'd
of
he go?
cork down there. That's one of those Zoom Med 15
Oh,
pound cork bundles right there. Oh, they're cool, man.
Yes.
That's
dude, look at
damn
that tail.
cool.
That
That's cool.
oh shit.
Wow.
Hey, what's up, Justin? What's going on, man?
What's up, buddy? That's damn cool. So I guess they
Yeah.
do fire up and fire down. I wonder if they're all that pale or the stripes or something they grow into. What is the difference too in sexual dimorphism? I gotta ask them.
Oh
Like how
yeah,
you can tell the
yeah.
difference with like Sycarae? What's the deal
Yeah,
with
so
the
that was
sexual
a male.
dimorphism? Is there a it is a male? All right,
Yeah,
elaborate
so
on that.
they're
I guess
they're
you're gonna
extreme.
talk
Yeah,
to
so Uroplatus in general are all really sexually dimorphic,
okay.
which is amazing. Coming from new
Yeah.
cows, I was like, oh my gosh, I can tell the sex right off the egg. This is
Right.
amazing. I can plan out my breeding projects and all this stuff like right when it hatches. So, no, it's great. So for the Lineatus, the females, you'll notice it's easiest if you look at a picture. But the females have like a lot more striping, and the males tend to
Okay.
be a lot more blotchy. The males will
Okay.
have some striping, but it won't be as like uniform. When those females hatch out, it's like perfect stripes down the back. When the males hatch out, they often have like blotches and spots and stuff. So you can kind
That's
of tell that
Now,
way.
convenient.
is that for most of the Uroplatus genus that they are okay?
Yeah,
Because I
so
was
they all kind of have differences. So the Sakura, they're really easy. You kind of just look at the texture of the skin. Once you kind of see a few, you kind of understand which is
yeah,
which. The males just have that different texture. It's like more of like a stripy texture.
kind of
Females
looks like
are
cork bark.
already uniform. I want to say it's. Have you guys ever noticed that the males always kind of hang out in different areas in the enclosure? I often see mine on like thinner branches. I was reading a book about them. By the way, if you want a good book for you to play, the Philip Sebastian Gehring book is the Chimera book. That is the
Oh yeah,
holy Bible of
the black
Uroplatus.
one.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that is the Bible.
Is that the
I
one
just
you
It's
sent one
donated?
out.
stuff.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
What's
one
one
up?
you
I
had, Jay?
donated during the yeah I donated to the at 12 Supreme Days of
I
Christmas,
gotta
and they
get
got
that thing,
that
man.
the complete
It's
Uroplatus.
it's an excellent read, and yeah, like a lot of the information I'm talking about has come directly from that book. So it's an
Awesome.
excellent read.
Nice.
But yeah, like I was saying, yeah, in the wild, I guess those male Sakura are hanging out on thinner branches that are often of a rougher texture, so they kind of just adapted to have that.
Makes
Just
sense.
where they hang out, and the females usually hang out on those larger tree trunks and stuff that are a little more uniform in texture, which is so interesting.
Yeah, it is. Very interesting. What do you know about the Sycaraes and that white I guess they're calling it like piebald. But I was
Yeah,
talking to Steph from Green Acres. I'm actually getting a female. She's sending me a female in a trade.
nice.
And she said that when she had mentioned piebald, she was like, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure that it's actually a piebald gene or mutation. What do
No,
you know about that? What is it?
it's the same thing as like I treat it like the same as any other kind of phenotype that you see on an animal. So
Just a
like
phenotype then, okay.
yeah, it's just like a polygenic phenotype. So in the wild, like I was saying, they're from the highlands, so you'll see that Sakura compared to other species are really really colorful. The rainforest that they inhabit, there's a lot more lichen and moss and stuff that has the ability to grow on all the branches that they kind of live on. The texture on those branches they live on is always so colorful and so full of life and all this lichen and moss.
Yeah.
So they just evolved to match that. And you'll see like white lichen spots and blue lichen spots, and the Sakura kind of adapted accordingly. And we
Very
just call
cool.
it piebald because it's so, it's so
Like,
contrasty.
I would have been convinced it was a gene when I saw the pictures of
Mhm.
it. I was like, I didn't even know. Crazy, but I didn't know if it was male, female. I didn't know anything about it. When I saw it, I was like, I want that. And
Yeah.
that's what she started explaining to me, and I was like, oh, all
Yeah.
right, cool. Ironically, I have a male. I need a female, but
Yeah.
it's so. Can males have that phenotype too, or is it
Mhm.
something that's? Oh, they can. Okay.
Yeah, the males can have it too. I have a female that is like perfect, dark brown and white, contrasted, looks just like a Henkelei. And I have some that are a little bit more of like a yellowish cream collar and different kind of base colors. But the males I have that are piebald are a little bit more blue. It's not consistent. Like there's white
Yeah.
pied males as well, but I'm just saying like the ones I have, they have that collar and they have that kind of hip band as well.
Mhm.
The males I have that phenotype are just a little more blue. It's like this sky blue color.
Very cool. I hope that'd be beautiful. Love blue.
All right.
Is there any
Mr.
known
Bobby got a
genes?
question.
What animal would Jack feed out if I saw an expo? Oh man, it's not a Uroplatus. I mean, one is like I obviously want more Peachmani because they're unobtainium.
Hard to find right there.
If I was to find a non-Uroplatus, I'll just keep it interesting. My dream gecko that I would lose my mind and buy instantly. I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but it's called a Saba flying gecko. It looks like a gecko would look if you combine a Sakura, the most beautiful Sakura, mossy green and white, with a flying gecko. It's
Oh, shit.
insane. It's absolutely insane. I want to
Where
say
are
they're
they
from the
from?
Philippines. They're from
Oh.
somewhere that they don't allow export anymore.
Damn, of course.
Or they're either in like the Philippines or Vietnam, and somewhere in Southeast Asia where they don't, either there's political unrest or there's something where they can't get them. So those are not in the hobby, but that is just like a
Really?
dream.
So I see
Damn.
regular flying geckos, and it blows my mind that they're like $20. I'm like, that's like a badass gecko.
Somebody
Like,
needs to hop on the flying gecko. If I had the
Oh,
space,
you got
I'd do flyers for
what's
sure.
his name? Man, is it
I see them
Gagan
all the time for like
Laboratories?
$20, $30. I'm like, how is that? Like how is it? Like that's why I hate to put a monetary value on anything alive. Like, believe me, but like they're not getting the clout they deserve, right? It's just that
No.
number digit. If someone were to take that simple flying gecko and say they're $300 now, I guarantee you more people would be interested in them if they cost $300 than they do at $30. People are like, oh, it's $30.
Yeah.
Everyone could get it. Everyone could have it. You take that elite status out of the mixture, and nobody wants them. Make them expensive. Everyone will want flying geckos. They're a badass
Yeah.
gecko. Their feet, their tails, they almost
Yeah.
have a leaf tail thing going on.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm like really gravitating towards them. I just can't provide the space that I think they require
Yeah.
to do them
Yeah.
justice. I'd throw them in 3x18x3s all day.
Just let them
and,
loose in your tent, just keep them in the tent. Like an escapee cleanup crew. Let them catch all the bugs that get out.
I've thought about throwing. The only reason why I don't have tokays free roaming here is just because of the feces. I don't want like a bunch of turds on my wall that I have to scrape off later.
Oh man. So let's say, is there any kind of challenges for these babies after they hatch? Do you have any kind of challenges, or are they kind of rock solid?
They're really rock solid. They eat right out the gate for me, at least.
Nice.
The biggest thing though is you got to watch that UV. Just in general with smaller Uroplatus, they really select for security over things like UV exposure. Like they'll choose a spot based on how secure they feel in that spot versus how much sun they're getting. So they very easily can burn themselves. I've experienced this with Ebanawi, especially. I haven't experienced it with Lineatus, but what I've done is I've put an extra layer of fiberglass like screen material over all of my baby tanks just to make sure that UV.
Okay.
I'd also raise the UV bulb up like 3-4 inches off those tanks too, just to make sure there's no dangerous areas in the enclosure, because they can and will just kind of sit there all day and just cook themselves. Contrary to other geckos that might just go hide in a cork round during the day and stuff like that to feel secure. These things sit out in the open, and if that area that they feel secure that they've chosen is 5 on a UVI meter because UV bulb's too close, then they are going to burn themselves. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that they can and will do that. Other things, they hatch with pretty good sized calcium sacs. And this is a big topic with Uroplatus that I want to kind of emphasize as far as
Hell
diet
yeah,
is
get into
concerned.
it, please.
We'll get in the nitty gritty here. Calcium is they're all very finicky with calcium. I've heard the most with Sakura and Fantasticus as far as calcium sensitivity. But just in general, it's really important to use calcium in moderation. Use it as I don't want to say use it reactionarily, as in like you don't see calcium sacs and then you want to use it, but you don't want to use it if you see those calcium sacs present and if they look healthy and they have good calcium sacs, you don't need to supplement calcium. Too much calcium, I've heard, can cause issues with the liver, like super heavy dusting on every single feeding, and then overfeeding as well can lead to kind of liver failure, which can present as like gout and things like that. So that's a thing to watch out for, especially with like the lower metabolism species like Sakura. They can be especially susceptible to overfeeding and weird dietary issues like that. And that's I know you guys ask this question, every episode, what's your biggest failure? I think my biggest failure is just not, taking diet as seriously as I should have. I wasn't very on top of how many crickets each animal was getting and all that. And I ended up feeding overfeeding one of my females. I was keeping a 1.2 communally to raise up. And I was just throwing, a handful of crickets in there. And this one female was overeating, nabbing all the crickets, and ended up, starting to get this swelling in her joints and stuff. And I think a reason for that was just too much calcium, too much was going into her, and it presented as a kind of liver failure, which then, uric acid is going to the joints and stuff and causing that swelling. She's still alive and she's kind of recovered, seemingly from that, but she's not ever going to get bred and she's a pet only. Gorgeous animal. Yeah, that's definitely my biggest failure with them. So diet is something to watch. Know which species you're getting into and kind of how their climate kind of influences their diet. So Lineatus come from a really, really warm climate during the day, so they can, you feed those things a little bit more. Ebanawi too. Stuff like Sakura and Fantasticus, you might need to pump the brakes a little bit and just watch them.
Any scientific information that maybe through work or some of the connections you have, has anybody ever given you like a scientific reason as to why do they hold that much calcium and not process it the way other animals will? What's the reason for them synthesizing calcium the way they do or don't?
I couldn't tell you scientifically. I haven't read anything like hard like that. Uroplatus are very tied to snails. They eat snails in the wild, which is really interesting. And they get a lot of their calcium that way. And when you think about a snail shell, it's not pure calcium. It's calcium mixed in with all these other kind of,
Minerals.
I don't want to say minerals or nutrients, but we'll just call it, all these other things, right, that kind of make up that shell. It's not just pure calcium. So they get a diffused amount of calcium after each feeding versus just a big old calcium bomb essentially covering this cricket. So what I've been doing recently, and this is a tip from Justin and some other guys from the Uroplatus Facebook, which is a really, really awesome community, by the way. I've learned a lot from them, is to use ground up cuttlefish bone powder as a calcium supplement. It doesn't coat the crickets as heavily as like a precipitate calcium carbonate does. So the amount you're giving per each cricket is a lot less. So it kind of diffuses that reaction. That's something I definitely recommend looking into. You can do the precipitate calcium. Like I used precipitate calcium for over a year and had no issues other than that female. But I did see some large calcium sacs with that stuff. But you can kind of very moderately use that stuff to where it coats it in a low enough layer that I think it's pretty safe. But it just takes a very close eye.
Because I always wondered if it was a lack of something else like phosphorus or something that's keeping them from processing it. So because they can't, they don't have these other trace elements, they may not be able to process the calcium. So they're storing it or something. I
very well could be.
My mind's always thinking, I just, for the as common as the issue is and as obvious as it is with some of these species, that you would think someone would have like a scientific, explanation for us, and it almost drives me nuts that they don't, because it's very unique to these species that you hold calcium that way, yet calcium is readily available to you at any time you want. You could easily, knock off a snail or anything to get calcium in the wild, but yet only these very few animals have this, this ability to like directly store calcium in masses in their throats. Like it's
I mean, you say the
just
same issue in day geckos in the Philsuma. They get those really large calcium sacs. So there's something about the insects on Madagascar. There's something about the dosage. It's hard to know for sure, honestly. I'm just making I'm trying to piece it together, same way everybody else is, kind of more anecdotally. Yeah, until any research comes out, it's all we can do. But I kind of just think about like the more you stress out like the liver and like the absorption of all these calcium and mineral supplements, the more stress you kind of put under that system, that system under renal system under. So if that system were to fail, it would present like gout, how I kind of experienced here. So that's why I don't know. I just play it safe as far as supplements go.
Absolutely.
I just really take gut loading seriously. And I use that to cover the majority of my bases. I want those crickets to be shitting out orange,
So speaking of that, what is your gut load? And then what else are you, so what kind of supplements are you using? Like what's your go-to stuff? And then are you sparingly doing it since you notice all that stuff? Like, is it like I use it as needed, or is it like, cause I use the Arcadia route with my stuff. So I only give them calcium once every 2 weeks. And then they have Earth Pro A and stuff like that. But so what about you?
Yeah. I'll just take gut loading really, really seriously. So I'll do like a kale that's got a lot of calcium in it, and then like a lot of orange vegetables. So I love butternut squash, spaghetti squash, carrots, sweet potatoes are excellent. And then I'll kind of sprinkle some bee pollen, occasionally do blueberries and stuff like that for antioxidants. But yeah, I kind of stick to those ingredients, and that covers the majority of my bases. There's a lot of vitamin A in the carrots and stuff, and carotenoids and all that, and it all kind of plays into it.
Oh yeah, keep it organic, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, again, I have no scientific basis to stand on here, but I would imagine that a cricket that's digested and processed those nutrients would present it to the gecko in a more natural way than straight dust on a cricket. I would think they're designed to be able to absorb those nutrients in that form versus like a straight dust powder, which might be a little bit harsher on their system. I just think that that's kind of how I think of it. So I just kind of proceed with caution with that stuff. But I'll do like Reptivite supplement like maybe once a month.
Okay, yeah,
and do it that way.
Nice. So with them, because they got them huge ass eyes. So and you said you do like the vitamin A and stuff like that. So have you seen any kind of, with the stuff that's been coming in? Have you noticed anything with going on with their eyes?
As far as eyes are concerned, I haven't in the Gehring book. It mentioned vitamin A deficiency, kind of presented as like crusty eyes. The eyes were like closed, or there was like this weird milky, abscessy goop and stuff. I haven't seen that, so I can't really comment on that necessarily. But I want to say vitamin A affects the ability for the geckos to shed. So if you see geckos having a hard time shedding, sometimes it's not humidity related or hydration related. Sometimes it's supplement related. So I would look into that if you're having like a gecko that takes like 5 days to shed, that kind of thing. Yeah. But it very well could be humidity related as well. But it's just one thing to consider.
Are you upping your?
And I think vitamin A is
breeding season. Or being that these things laid hard-shelled eggs, are you upping any of your calcium or supplements during your breeding season? You are.
Yeah, definitely. Right now in winter cooling, I kind of have all the females back up to having good calcium sacs. So I've kind of halted all dusted calcium for the winter cooling period. Once they start laying, I will absolutely be dusting again. And were
you able to visually see them getting smaller as they laid? Like as they
no, absolutely.
Really,
they shrink. Yeah, it's very, you can definitely see it. Not so much clutch to clutch, but like if you take a picture 1 month and then come back a couple months later, they'll look a little bit different if they've laid a couple clutches. One thing I've heard with some species like Pitchmani is that if you pack in too much calcium, it almost crystallizes in their sacs and then they're unable to use it. And it takes up space so that when they actually need to use the calcium, they don't have as much as you might think. And sometimes they crash that way. So that's kind of also why I'm like, use in moderation. You don't want them getting too big and you don't want them like sitting there like, chipmunk cheeks for too long.
So, all right. So, besides having like the wild caught and having all that parasites and stuff, is there any like signs of illness? So, if someone wanted to keep a lineatus or try to get one, is there any kind of certain signs they should be looking for between a good one and a healthy one, and any signs of when they have it? What should they be kind of looking for?
I guess if you're looking at an animal and you're looking to buy that animal, first thing you look at is the tail. They're very similar to plants in that a shitty plant will have a curled tail. It'll look all, like all the water sucked out of it. It's all, limp and gross looking. It's the exact same thing. It works the exact same way with Uroplatus and Lineatus too, where if they're not hydrated or they're stressed, that tail will curl. I tried bringing Sakura to a show recently. Or not recently, back in October, and I put some in deli cups, and by the end of the show, that Sakura's tail was literally like curled in like that.
Wow.
It was all curled, but that was a completely healthy animal, super hydrated, doing super well. And that day at the show, in that deli container, caused that tail to curl in just because of how stressed it was. So it's also kind of telling for stress as well as hydration. So look at that tail. If it looks like a strong leaf, good composition, then you're probably pretty rock solid there. You can also look at body composition too. Lineatus are obviously skinnier, so you don't. I would just look at the body. If it's really really skinny, you can see the ribs and like the chest cavity is indented. It ain't great. As far as sometimes the wild stuff comes in with like visual scars and marks, and they come in sometimes pretty battered. That's one thing. Everybody, there's a lot of people that say that the males don't really like fight, and I've noticed that with a lot of my species that the males don't really intend to kill each other in the same way that a lot of other gecko species do.
Yeah, heard that.
But they will kind of harass each other. I experimented with communally housing males during winter cooling with Sakura this past season. A couple of them had bite marks, whether that was from food aggression or from male-to-male aggression. I've never noticed that with pairs, so I'm just going to go ahead and point the finger at, male on male, chipping and chattering at each other. It's always usually on the face, and I witnessed this with my 2.2 of Lineatus I keep together. I was in here at night, and all of a sudden I heard like this really, really loud, like, chipping and chattering noise from their enclosure. And I look over, and the two males have like tails completely arched, and they're kind of biting at each other's heads, kind of, and they've left some marks that way. So they do kind of do some combat, but it's not with the intent to kill. It's really just more of like a territorial issue. So very, very soon, I just got the enclosures recently. I'm gonna split that group up, and I'm gonna try keeping them just lone pairs for next season.
I've heard from guys that that's good for breeding. Like, believe it or not,
yeah.
that competition has actually spiked some guys, production, having that male competition in the colony with these certain Uroplatus species.
That was my reasoning for starting that group in a 2.2, and it worked. But now I just want to try and see if I can replicate it with just like the parameter cycles and see if I can get them to breed that way.
Cool.
What I want to try, what I'm sure might work too similarly, is just swapping males from enclosure to enclosure. Obviously, the risk of introducing weird stuff to each animal, you only really want to do that with captive stuff or wild stuff with wild stuff, just to kind of keep it all contained. You don't really want to be spreading stuff all around your your collection, but I would imagine them smelling each other, the other males and stuff in those enclosures would help. The males leave sperm plugs all over the freaking enclosure. I'm constantly scraping those things off the plexiglass and stuff, so they do some marking.
Oh man, nice.
We were talking about animals and imports too. One thing I was always taught as a kid, and I always tell people too when they say they're out looking for a healthy animal, and as weird as it sounds, I always tell people to look at the vent, man. It sounds crazy, but check an animal's butt out, man. If it looks like he's got something nasty going on and stuff all stuck and goop all over him, that's a pretty good sign that something's going on too. If you don't have firm stool in a cup, or you see diarrhea in a deli cup, and like there's it's a big sign, for me personally, with internal stuff going on. And if I seen that and something was labeled wild caught, I would probably stay away from it myself.
The vent is when I first got my Lineatus, I like tripped out because it literally looked like it had like two sets of balls. They're really, really weird looking. They have really, really weird looking hemipenes.
Oh,
It does
man.
not look normal. It does not look natural, but it is fairly normal as long as nothing like, nothing's hanging out, then
Yeah,
you should
yeah,
be good.
yeah. It's,
I've never even heard of that one. There's so many different starry night geckos, so I've never even heard of those.
I just saw this one right here. I saw a podcast the other day. They discovered it beginning in 2024. And they named it the Starry Night something after a Van Gogh painting.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Bioscapist, what's the Latin on that one? So while you answer that, so
I'll
is there
send
any
you the
good
podcast.
besides that book? Is there any other good resources that people should look into?
The Facebook group is really good. The Uroplatus Facebook. It's the one with the most attendees, I guess, or the members. There's a lot of really, really knowledgeable people in that group, and a lot of them I've learned from, a lot of this stuff from. I'm definitely like a student of a lot of those people, in there. They're very, very respectful and very, very, open to discussions, which is really, really awesome. The
So it's pretty much just like a crested
awesome.
gecko group?
Yeah,
No.
maybe a little bit less, maybe a little less getting in the weeds on some things, but there's good and bad apples everywhere. But yeah, I'm definitely like, I'm extremely new to all this stuff, in the grand scheme of things. Like there's people that have been doing it way longer than I have, and I am absolutely still a student on this stuff, and I will continue to be.
We should all always.
Yeah,
be.
we're all students. Like I said, if you think you're an expert, then you stop learning. So always keep on learning. So, I mean, who was it? Matt said something like that too. It was like, yeah, if you think you're an expert, you stop learning. And it was like, I don't know. He said it on a podcast, and it made sense to me. I was like, okay, got it. But so, well, since you took my last question, Jack, about the failure stuff. So what is your like in the next 3 to 5 years? What are your goals for Uroplatus?
Oh man, I've been really selective with the species I keep thus far, and I've kind of tried. My Sakori were the first species I kept, and I just got a pair just to start from the pet store I used to work at. But I've been selecting species that I think, aside from the Peachmani, I think would be good for the larger hobby. Like I think Lineatus are underappreciated and underkept, or they don't have as much. They're not as common as I think they should be. I think a lot of people would have success, and a lot of people would have a lot of fun with them. So they're a big focus, and I think they translate really well to a lot of people's keeping conditions. So I've been focusing on species that I think people will have success with. Hankali too. They come from an area of Madagascar that can get into the 95s. Obviously, they're under all that canopy and stuff, so they're not experiencing those high temperatures really. But they come from an area that has some fluctuation, and so I'm trying to keep species that are fairly hardy as well and kind of promote them that way. As far as my outlook, I really just want to have like a good repository of genetics for each of the species I keep, and build out my groups that way and be smart about pairings and stuff. And then, have some fun, have some cool, color projects, work some cool phenotypes into some animals, but not at the cost of genetic diversity, but, have fun with it, because I think they can be absolutely gorgeous. And, there's a lot of cool color combinations and stuff that you can get, especially with Sakura, Abinawi, and those species. So yeah, and then as far as species I'm looking to add in the future, as far as the Uroplatus is concerned, I don't think there's enough people working with Thymbriatus as it stands. I think they're in a very similar kind of area as Lineatus, where like the people that have them and breed them have been doing it for a really long time. There's not a really new crop of keepers, or not as large of a new crop of keepers as I think there should be to sustain them in captivity. We've been getting like this. We're getting drip fed wild animals, but not all of them are going into good homes and being used to bolster up those groups. So I'm pretty much tapped out on space in the current tent. So we're gonna have to do some finagling if I'm gonna add anything.
One of the roommates gotta go.
Yeah. There's always an upstairs, but it's mostly snakes right now. But I'm also kind of messing with a lot of other Malagasy species. I've been having a lot of fun kind of learning about all the different species and how they integrate with each other. So I'm keeping some Malagasy cat-eyed snakes now. Those are freaking awesome. Super easy to keep. They're rear fangs, so they're sometimes, some states have legality issues with those, but if you can get them, they're incredible. Not very prone to bite at all, but they're really cool. Boiga looking snake that only gets 2-3 feet tops. And they're bright. There's a bunch of different color form, or there's 3 different color forms, and one of them's a gold phase, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This bright yellow gold color. Starting to mess with some Paraoidura. That's been kind of new, but that's been really fun. Dipping my toes in. I started with a group of Stumpy, and I bought a pair of Gracilis, but the female kicked like the day after I got her, so I was super bummed about that.
Damn.
But the male's doing really well, so whenever I find a female, I'll try and get a female for him.
You better talk to Wally.
Yeah, I gotta talk. There's a guy in Canada that does a lot of them, the Gracilis. He also does Alaudi, Uroplatus Lineatus, which is a species I really want to mess with too. Very similar to Peachmoney, but very smooth. And then with that order of Stumpy I got in, I also got in like this random gecko. I didn't know what it was, so I had to do some Googling. It turns out it's Paraoidura oviceps, which is the nosy bay ground gecko.
Yeah.
It's a really neat gecko. It's very similar in appearance to the Phylurus, the Australian Phylurus. And they kind of inhabit a very similar area near streams, really rocky outcrops near streams. So it's a really cool species I'm starting to mess with. So I got a 2.3 of those now. So got some of those cooking in the background.
Yeah. So I talked to your boy Landon today actually, because he was talking about some projects, and he was talking about I was like, what he said, he wanted some Musobi. I was like, dude, you're a glutton for punishment, because god damn those things. I swear to God, like the nightmare stories I've heard about them is like, man,
yeah, no kidding.
The only way they live is like you just got to put them in a closet and not even look at them. I was like, God, ugh. Yeah,
it doesn't sound very enjoyable, and I don't think they're in the States, and I think they're CITES up the butt, so
yeah, you got to go ahead and get those imported, but we'll see what happens.
I don't even know if you can anymore. I don't think there's an import quota for them, or there's some legality issues with them.
Not from Madagascar, from Europe.
I don't even know if you can get them from Europe anymore.
Okay, because that's what they were talking about doing. So I was like, okay, but that's gonna cost a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, somebody would have done it already if you could. So I don't think they can come in anymore, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Similar, or with maybe they can, but yeah, it might be just extremely expensive. Similar boat with the Peachmoney, where they're in Europe, but very few are in the States anymore.
Yeah.
But
so why do you think like people are not really working with these Lineatus like you think they should be? Is it like just a simple fact because they're like just one color, or is it there's no variability?
I thought about this for a while. Before I came to Uroplatus, I was keeping a lot of New Caledonian geckos. A lot of my close friends in the reptile community were New Cal keepers. So I like to keep stuff that my friends are keeping. I love that social aspect of trading and talking and exchanging all this info and getting stoked with each other. Like, I love that social aspect. And with Uroplatus, it's a little bit different. There's not that large community to bolster all that networking and stuff. So, really, until there's a good community, it's going to be fringe. So, but this is a start. We're gonna, I'm trying to, me and a few others, have been really putting a lot of effort into bolstering the community. Joe at Gecko Gambit, great dude. Really trying to popularize them on the East Coast. A few others that are doing the same. And I just think the more people that have them, and social media is a big tool for that, to popularize the species more. So I just think it'll take time until they kind of catch up. I just hope that when the popularity does catch up, that we have the animals to supply that demand, and that genetic diversity to carry them through herpetoculture, responsibly.
It's huge. You don't want them to get popular where there's not enough to supply that demand.
Yeah, and you also don't, and if nobody's producing them, if nobody's producing them and you get them popular and all you can get are wild caughts, then you're also shooting yourself in the foot that way. So I'm hoping to be able to supply Lineatus for the people that I do get stoked on them in the future.
Nice. Yeah, you want to hit them with your question, man? So we're almost at that time.
Question? All right. Well, obviously, I ask everybody the same thing. This is cool though for you because you in the industry. If a 10-year-old kid came up to you and said, "Jack, man, I love what you do, man. Your animals, your job. I want to grow up and be just like you." What advice would you give a child who wanted to get into the, pet industry, I guess, like pet supply and development industry and keeping the animals you do? What advice would you give a kid that wanted to grow up and live the life you live?
Yeah, I was, I obviously was extremely lucky to go to school where I did in the vicinity of the company that I did. But, that connection started 8 to 10 years ago when I was working my first job at the pet store. And I asked my boss, once I found I was going to Poly, I asked my boss for Zoom Ed, for my Zoom Ed reps, for the Zoom Ed reps number. And I called him and I was like, hey, like I'm this little nasally voice. Hey, I'm this little kid. I keep reptiles and stuff. You got any jobs at Zoom Ed? He's like, well, I'm a sales rep. I'm not really at the office. You're going to have to email this person. So it's just a long train of emails and exchanging info. And I hammered him for like, 8 years, through college. Once I was in college, a couple years, my third year, I finally got an email and I missed it. It was like 2 weeks old that saying, hey, we got a spot for some animal care stuff. And I called him back as soon as I saw that. I was like, hey, is it still available? And so I went in for an interview, got it nailed. Yeah, very lucky, but it just goes to the networking thing, be a good human and network. If people like you, you're going to have that support around you.
That's good advice,
Shows
man.
are a
Be
great
good
place to do
human.
that. Herp societies are a great place too. You never know who's going to walk through those doors. Be respectful to everybody you meet. You never know who knows who, or it's a network, right? So just be a good person and support others how you can, and they'll support you when you need it.
It's great
People
advice,
take,
man. It's the
people
golden
notice
rule. I
that,
tell
and
people all the time. You don't have to be religious to live the golden rule, man. Treat people how you want to be treated, man. Treat
absolutely,
people how you would want to see your children treated, your mother treated, your father treated. Treat people like people, man, and you'd be
yeah,
surprised how far that will get you. Just on face value,
yeah.
man.
And like 10-year-old me watched a ton of those like reptile tour videos where it was like all kinds of different stuff, in a house on the shelves and stuff. And that it's for a 10-year-old and getting that kind of influence, it's not the best in my opinion. It leads to a lot of spur of the moment decisions and desire for things you don't really understand. So there's implications to that kind of thing. And obviously it's the same thing everybody says, take it slow, figure out what you want. I've changed my preferences have changed drastically over the last few years. Getting into college, I was really into dart frogs, and the only reason I got out of dart frogs was from a fluke accident where my AC didn't work for a day while I was at work during the summer, and the PG&E turned my power off, and that smoked my whole dart frog collection. And that
Dang.
it was it put me in a dark spot for a while. Found new Ghouls-N-Geckos. They're super hardy, super easy, amazing community. Had a lot of fun with that, and that led me into Uroplatus finally. And honestly, it was that cycle was great though, because I feel like a lot of my New Caledonian friends are people that would appreciate Uroplatus in some capacity at some point. It's just about giving them confidence,
Yeah.
So it's
It's all education. It's all lessons.
yeah.
It's all experiences. That are
Mhm.
applicable to a lifestyle. That the kid may want to live. I mean, it's all on the same track, if you will. I mean, hey, it wasn't
Yeah.
wasted time.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So,
advice.
yeah.
So I'm sure there's a
So
lot of
Jack,
little kids out there that watch you on YouTube, dude. That definitely are like, I
Speaking
want
of
to grow up
YouTube.
and be Jack. That's cool, man. It's a big responsibility, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you're a good kid. You set a good example.
Yeah. I hope
sure.
so. Uh,
You
don't
about to
do
say
it. Yeah.
something about YouTube? What's going on?
Yeah. Have you guys seen the TikTok CapCut banning and unbanning stuff? Oh my gosh, it's put me in peril because
I,
I had a lot of projects I was working on CapCut,
I can't
long
even
form
do
projects.
TikTok because they don't support 4K. All the reels
Interesting.
I do are in 4K.
Yeah.
They're like, we only do 1080p. I'm like, I'm not finna do this. So I stopped posting on there.
I don't do TikTok, but I use TikTok, or like the parent company owns CapCut, and that's the editing software. I
Yeah,
was editing a lot of
use that
a
too.
couple of long form projects on, and that got banned over the weekend. So I was tripping out because I had a couple of videos I was working on get put on hold, but it's back now. So I'm hoping to put out some stuff fairly soon. Long form, just more in depth educational stuff.
Good.
Who I really really like, and I really want to model the channel off of is that Keeping Fish Simple guy. It's this Australian dude.
Where did I
Younger
find
guy.
him?
I would look him up, and he just
Yeah, well,
seems
Keeping
yeah,
Fish
he just you'll understand when you watch his stuff. That's who I want to model my content off of is him. He's just very mature and very very good head on his shoulders. It's very nice production, and it's all. He just seems like a really responsible dude, and that's the same values that I want to kind of push out to.
Good. And you will.
So
But yeah,
where can everybody find you at, man?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram for now at Gekkota Culture, Gekkota, and then culture, kind of like herpetoculture, but geckos. And then I got like a little small herping Instagram too. I post a lot of photos and stuff of just herping stuff. It's gonna be Jack in the Woods, so Jack in and then THA Woods, and then hopefully on YouTube pretty soon at Gekkota Culture as well. We'll see. I'll put some. I'll give everybody a heads up when I'm finally done with those videos. I'm just shooting B-roll at this point. It's taken a while with all these nocturnal geckos.
Right. Yeah. Chris asked. You said CapCut was back.
CapCut's back for now.
There you go. For right now.
Learn DaVinci while you can. I think Instagram's making a CapCut clone of them of their own. So I think I think there's gonna be a very similar software to use pretty soon. But for now, I'm relearning DaVinci because I used that a while ago. But CapCut's just so much easier for the short form stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely is. I haven't used CapCut in a minute, man.
CapCut on the computer's pretty good.
I just do all my reels off of Riverside. They're like, oh, boom.
Oh, they have their own edit. I guess.
Yeah,
They do have.
I could make all my reels off of this right here. This just show. I'll probably get like 12 reels.
Hell yeah.
So yeah. So
That's
you'll
sweet.
see them. Don't worry. All right. Well, so we're all pretty much done. Definitely, Jack, man, thanks for coming on, man, and blessing us with some knowledge of the Uroplatus, of Lineatus, a little bit of Eshmani. We'll love to have you back on again.
We barely touched on the peach money, so we gotta hit those a little hard next time,
we'll have to get you back on and do a full in-depth one just for that species alone.
Hell yeah.
So like, as long as you're down with that, man. All right.
Sounds good. Anytime, guys.
Thanks for coming on, kid.
Yep. Everybody have a great night. If you listen to this later, have a great morning, great afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Peace. All right.
Yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial. Sticky toes gripping forest students that explore. Listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days. Little hustlers, camouflage and maze, catch them speaking wisdom, the wild on replay. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Sculling through the leaves, shadows unseen. Master of the skies, chameleon dream. Lizard tails flip, script getting clean. Gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Scuttling through the leaves, shadows unseen. Master of disguise, chameleon dream. Lizard tails flip, script getting clean. Gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game